Hey, everybody. Good morning for some. If you're overseas or whatever, and it's a different time because I have a friend named Luke. I have to add 5 hours and then just flip the AM to PM. So, like right now, it's 10 in the morning, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 would be 3 p.m. for me. It's 3 a.m. for him. I always do that math to know what time it is for him in Australia. Okay, without further ado, we're gonna have Sally on. I met her at Flat-Toberfest, this most recent one, and I'll pull her up to I'll tell you a little bit about how exactly I met her, which is kind of interesting and fun. Yeah, and just getting used to streaming is great. I'm gonna learn more about how to have an intro. I know a lot of people build a great intro and outro, but you know what? I'm most interested right now in just hearing people's stories. So I'm gonna bring Sally on. There she is. So with Sally, she stayed at the same hotel as me, and I came walking in, and I saw Sally and Craig at the front desk. I didn't know their names yet, and they were holding their phone up to the receptionist or the person checking them in, and it was Dave Weiss's app. And I was like, "Oh, sweet Flat Earthers!" And we just started to chat. We actually chatted for like 20 or 30 minutes. It felt like. So tell me from your side of the story when you first met me, like y'all were just checking in, and then here I come and I bombarded you with excitement about y'all using the app.
Well, we were just excited to be there, and I had never seen your face.
Mm-hmm.
I knew your name, but I had never seen your face. And so we were kind of feeling a little lost because we had gone to the campsite and called the number. It was like 5 minutes till five. And we're like, cool, they're open till five. And I called and I'm like, hey, can we come in? They're like, no, not until tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And if the wind is over 35 miles per hour, you can't come in. And if it's over 75 miles per hour, we have to vacate. So we left and we were driving around trying to find a hotel. We found Craig suggested one close to the venue. And that's how we ended up at the Holiday Inn Express and met you and Mr. And I took his advice on dinner. It was amazing. And then I ate that, some leftovers the next day too. But for anybody who isn't aware, we held Flat-Toberfest at the tail end of a hurricane and Hurricane Helene as it came through South Carolina. Unfortunately, it hit North Carolina much harder than it hit South Carolina. But we ended up camping at a Hampton Inn. We call it the Campton Inn.
Mm-hmm.
They let us set up camp. It ended up being about, I think there were 24 tents is what I counted at the max, and lots of people in the hotel, and they traded out they gave us their cards so we could use their shower, so we weren't like all gross and stinky till the end of the weekend, and it was a lot of fun. I met some of my heroes and people, podcasters I listen to all the time. Austin Whitsitt, I want to adopt him. He's about my son's age, so I say I could adopt him. And Brian Stavely and a couple other people that are just out of this world. So
Yeah.
that's how I met you.
Yep, they're awesome. Actually, I have a little clip. I mean, some people may have seen it, some haven't, of the Flat-Toberfest. I'll pull it up and
Oh,
have it
are
running
you,
a
are you
little.
going to play it now?
Yeah, I'll just play a little bit of it now, just with us
Okay.
sitting here. I'm gonna see if I can play it without audio, so it can just kind of be
Okay.
on the
Well,
side, and we can keep chatting.
okay.
Oh, let's see. Okay, I muted
It-
it,
you-
and
yeah. The food was great. Dr.
yeah,
Law was great.
yeah, it was really
Um,
amazing.
and he cooked and cooked and cooked. He was just unbelievable.
I feel like he
Um,
was working like 10 or 12 hours a day. It was really wild, and the
it,
pad
it
thai
seemed
was
like it.
always
I took a
available.
video of him. The days blurred together. The last evening that we were there, I took a video of him time lapse. So
Hmm.
you see him like chopping and chopping and chopping real fast. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, and
Where's
his
Richard
wife was
Lopez?
there. Do I?
He was.
Oh, you asked what I liked best. Is that what you asked?
I'm sorry, me.
I wondered if you asked
Oh,
me what I liked best, and I didn't know if you meant about Flat-Toberfest or about Dr. Law's cooking, or if you even asked that at all.
I did not ask that,
Oh,
so
okay.
that's okay.
We had a little
But
lag or something.
one of the things I had gotten the coin at Flatoberfest, and I could not remember all of the hidden in plain sight things.
Hmm.
So I watched this video the other day, and you talked to um,
Was it Iron Guild?
Iron Guild, yes. And he explained the 6 different things again. So I'm like, yes, see how the universe answers questions that I ask?
Isn't that interesting?
Always.
Yeah, so here we are rolling up on Witsit and Adam.
Fantastic.
Adam's a big supporter, a good friend. I've
Yeah,
talked to him a few times. He's into fitness and nutrition. And I mean, I'm telling you, the people there were amazing, open-minded. Not everybody had the exact same belief about different things. And I mean, even you and I have different understanding or belief about certain things, but doesn't mean we have to be enemies. And
right.
half the reason why I'm even doing this channel is just to have conversations with people where if you say something that I don't necessarily either agree with or line up with perfectly, it doesn't mean that our friendship has to drop a notch or our, connection. And we live in a world where we've been, here, I'll stop this. We live in a world where we've been programmed from birth, not only that the heliocentric model is true and we live on a spinning planet, but we've been programmed to divide over everything, be angry. Oh, that can't be my friend. Oh, I can't talk to that person. And I don't agree with that at all. So we're going to just transition into, because I don't even know who you were before Flat Earth or before seeking the truth in all things, like maybe your upbringing, however you want to take it, just to who
Okay.
you are then and who you are now and how you found the truth.
Okay. Well, excuse me. I am a mother of 2 now grown boys, and as I was raising them, things would come across my purview, my realm, and I would like the Build-A-Burger group. So,
Mm-hmm.
I looked into that a little bit. I was a busy mom. I was working. I was a single mom, working, raising 2 children. I had owned a house. Well, thought I owned a house. I did not have time to look into it deeply. Then I'd see things like weather control and how you can steer storms. And I watched Superstorm San. Well, before that, I watched Katrina come up and hit the Gulf of Mexico. I'm going to try to turn it so it's the right way and spin like this, like it's going along the Gulf, and then right below New Orleans, make a 90-degree turn and head directly north. Storms don't do that. There are no right angles in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with Superstorm Sandy. It hit the coast and was spinning off the coast. And my cousin lived in a shore area, and she was scared. And I said, "Well, why? It's spinning off the coast. It's not going to turn and hit you." And it did. It made a 90-degree turn and hit her. So those were a couple of things that I was open to early on. And my mom always said, it's like, and you're knower. You just know that what you're seeing is right. Can I be misled? Yeah, sure, I can be misled, but you have an inner knowing. And you had said that we've been trained from birth to believe in the spinning ball, but we've also been trained for separation. You're over there, I'm over here, stay 6 feet apart, and we're all one. We're all part of the creator. And as soon as you realize that we're all one, we'll stop hurting each other, because you aren't going to hurt yourself. Why would I deliberately hurt my foot? And that's what we're doing to each other. And as soon as we learn that we're all one, then it all stops. But like Dave Weiss says, they divide us by country, by religion, by factions of religion, by sex, by money, and it's all a lie. I mean, yeah, there's different sexes, but other than that, it's pretty much all a lie. Money's a lie. Sports are a lie. They're all contrived. It's just everything that we've looked to that divide us. It's all a lie. And this is a huge one.
I had never heard the Rockefeller quote, and I never really knew that the Rockefellers took over the medical industry and the school system and the whole thing with, like, they don't want a nation of thinkers, they want a nation of workers. And then I learned about, the women's right movement, and they really just wanted both parents to bring in more money and taxes, et cetera, and then divide the parents from the children, latchkey kid children, which, I mean, I basically was, because both my parents worked. It's so wild in this truth-seeking community, and I know there's so many trolls and so many haters for anybody that's open-minded anybody that is critically thinking or takes information in like, let me think about that for a minute. That seems odd.
Mhm.
They think that we're the enemy. They hate
Right.
us for asking questions. But man, it was really surprising to learn. I mean, we could go on and on and on about what we've learned from the beginning, but really it's all about that division. And, if I was to ask you about school, didn't it seem so weird that it was like the bell was extremely loud and would
Yeah.
just break up if you're having an awesome chat with a friend, it would just be like, the bell, and it would shock everybody and we'd have to go to class and it's like, now you go to lunch and now you go over here and rogue memorization. So
Yep.
schooling, I mean, did you know when you were in it that it was like a tactic thing and a controlled deal, or do you just think, hey, this is just what everybody does, this is school?
I did not know when I was in it that that was a thing. Oh, my screen just went blank.
Yeah, it's kind of freezing up a tiny bit. If one of us doesn't have good signal, mine should be decent. We could also turn our cameras off, and the audio would come through clear.
Is that better?
A little bit. If it messes up too much, I might have you drop your camera, but I,
Okay.
your audio didn't break out.
Okay. When I was, I think my screen went blank because it was immobile for so long. So I have to liven it up every once in a while.
There
When
we
I
go.
was in school, I hated history. I hated history. My history teachers made it unbelievably hard. Somebody asked me, my ninth grade history teacher asked me my opinion on something, and I gave it. And he picked up the book on the desk behind me, slapped me up the back of the head with it, and told me I was wrong. That's not an educator. That's not someone who wants someone to learn. But I was really good at home economics, and I love cooking and sewing and the whole economics of home economics, like balancing a budget and living within your means and that kind of thing. So I went to college and I became a home economics teacher, and that was in the early '80s. And I had a great student teaching experience in a wonderful school in upstate New York. And it was a small school, and the principal knew everybody. And they had this great program where the seniors could write a letter on why they deserve this hall pass. And a hall pass, there was a wide area in the hall where they had beanbag chairs and sofas and stuff. And if you earned a hall pass, you could be there any free time of your day, or you could be there during lunch. So it was so fair. And the principal, they at the meetings once a month, the teacher meetings, whatever, they'd review these letters, and the teacher could say yes, or they could say no. And if they said no, it couldn't be, well, I just don't like him. It had to be, they did this, or this, with substantiated evidence that they did something negative in their class. And then they wouldn't get their pass. They could apply the next month, but and it was such a fair thing. Then I came out of that into South Central Pennsylvania when I graduated and got in to teaching, and I was a substitute. That's how you break in. You have to be a substitute teacher for the most part, and that's very difficult for me because I like staying up late at night. I'm a night owl, and you get a call at 4:30 in the morning that you had to be to work at 6:30, and that just did not work in my schedule very well. Plus, this I did get in for a 90 or 45-day maternity leave, and in that school, the administration did not back the teacher. So when I had a student in my home economics class threaten me with a knife, it was my fault. I
Mm.
was the one who got reprimanded. Um, when I had students arguing with me, and I told them that they were disrupting the class and that they were going to have to come for detention after school if they continued. Um, the principal met me at the door with him and said, "Oh no, daddy called, so he's not coming into class." So
Mm.
imagine the arrogance the next time that child came into my class. There was no way I could control the situation.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't last very long in organized teaching. I ended up doing teaching other ways. I worked with the Pampered Chef for 15 years. So I taught people, how to cook, how to use tools, how to have fun. So.
Man, that's really interesting. I didn't know that about you. I mean, I guess that's what this is all about. A couple things that popped off in my mind is, and I'm not sure if you knew about this, that I worked at a boys' ranch for troubled teens. I may have told you.
No.
After college, I worked at Wells Fargo Financial first, and I didn't like selling
Cool.
higher interest rate loans to people, like 27 to maybe 30% loans on like a boat. So they wanted like a $7,000 or $12,000 boat. I'd give them the money, or my company would approve the loan even if they were kind of sketchy on credit, which I thought was kind of weird because
I'll tell you something about that.
yeah,
We'll
and
get back to that. Go ahead.
if folks aren't being responsible with credit and they're just running up credit cards and they have a bunch of debt, they shouldn't be extended any more money, in my opinion. But Wells Fargo Financial was like, well, I mean, okay, let's prove this. It'll be a higher interest rate for sure, but then they'd pay like so much interest on a $7,000 loan. That was weird, and I didn't really like the feeling. So I got out of that and got into hotel hospitality industry. Worked that for a really long time. And then ended up getting saved, or I gave my life to Jesus 15 years ago to get on a new path. Totally changed my whole life, but to kind of transition from like the dark side, if you will, or a depraved mind, to a new journey, a new path, a path of light and hope, and like loving on people. I worked 3.5 years at a boys' ranch for troubled teens, and I was a house parent. So I was a live-in parent, and they were 15 to 18 years old, and I had usually 5 of them at a time. They didn't know how to cook. They didn't know how to do anything really. And I was supposed to, and I mean, it was my goal, was to teach them how to cook, because some didn't even know how to like flip an egg over. Nobody had ever taught them. Their parents never taught them. And so it was neat to hear you talk about that. But if you want to circle back to the financial or Wells Fargo, you had something on your mind?
Well, I have to do a little bit of a lead in.
Yeah, do it.
In 2022, I asked 2 questions to the universe, to the creator. The one, I was laying out in the sun and I'm looking up at the clouds and they're all flat on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
They go way up into the sky, but they're all flat on the bottom. So for 2 weeks, I was like, why are the clouds flat on the bottom? I drove my husband crazy because we'd be driving a big, look at the clouds. They're all flat on the bottom. Why? And the other question I asked was why we take a footprint, a baby's footprint, and put it on their birth certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't identify, it's not like a thumbprint or a fingerprint that you could identify the baby by that. So this is stupid. Why do we do that? So that has been, those 2 questions have led me down 2 very interesting paths of truth. Obviously one to flat earth, the electrostatics, up to speed on that. Shortly after I asked those questions, I somehow found Mark Sargent's clues. And I'd be watching these clues and I'm like, this guy gives his phone number out at the end of every video. I mean, he's either stupid or brilliant, that nobody's ever going to call him. And turns out he's brilliant. And then I saw somehow, I know YouTube like filters and limits flat earth, but there were some videos I saw that didn't really have flat earth in the name. And I found them. And the one was a guy who hikes the Appalachian Trail, who was marking hills, mountains, and how far away they are, that he could see them, and figuring out like how far below the curve they should be. And he's like, but I can't be a flat earther, but I can see them. We've got, how do you explain that? How do you explain seeing a mountain that far away when the Appalachian Trail, the highest points are like 2,000 feet. I mean, they're not huge. Maybe even that might be too high, but they're little, they're not huge mountains. So how can you see them that far away? So that was one. And then Owen Benjamin, his awakening was hysterical. I've watched it a couple times and laugh every time I watch it, because he's like, no, I can't be a flat earther. And I think we all felt that way. I heard about flat earth in 2016, and the guy that mentioned it to me said that you can't fly over the North Pole. Antarctica is the ring, the edge of the planet, or our known realm. And there was a third thing he said. I'll think of it. But I'm like, I laughed at him. I'm like, you're so stupid. What do you mean we can't fly over the North Pole? Of course we can. Planes fly there all the time. Well, I was wrong. He was right. With a little bit of information, I just believed, like we all do, about the globe, and this great circle route and things like that. So I've wanted to call him up and apologize because I really maligned him back in 2016. But so the other question I asked was, why do they take a baby's footprint,
Mm-hmm.
put it on birth certificate? Well, I've come to find out that the birth certificate is bond paper, and we're bonded and insured at birth, and we are traded on the stock market.
Mm.
So when the bank has no money in a loan. They don't loan their money, and it's illegal for them to loan your money. So when someone gets a loan, they are tapping into that bonded and insured, and they're actually loaning their own money and paying it back to the bank at interest.
Mm-hmm.
But the bank had no money in it. No money. Zero. Zilch. No money in a loan, no money in a mortgage. The bank has no money. When you buy a house, or when you go to a closing for a house, you sign paperwork that you're buying the house, and then you sign a second set of paperwork saying you're going to pay X amount of dollars and blah, 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 blah. But that money didn't come from the bank. That's how they can sell them on the secondary market. That was another question I asked. And that kind of fell into this whole thing, is like, how do they sell mortgages on the secondary market? Because if the bank had that money in, that would have to be satisfied for them to sell the mortgage. Well, they're not selling the mortgage. They're selling your promise to pay. So you have a mortgage at $1,100 a month. You're paying every month. They sell that promise to pay to another bank that's going to collect. So that's how they sell them on the secondary market. And because of all of this, I was a realtor for 6 years.
Mm.
And when I found out that mortgages are fraud and property taxes are illegal, I had to give it up.
Wow.
And I can remember my exit interview with my broker. It was the end of the year. I let my license expire. No, I quit December 2022. My license expired April 2024. So I had just renewed my license. It's a 2-year license. And when I sat and talked with him and told him that mortgages are fraud and property taxes are illegal, he said, I know. And I have too much integrity to put somebody in that. Plus, he used to tell us that the reason realtors get paid so much is because of our knowledge. Because you can find the knowledge on the internet. It's a wealth of knowledge. You can find more information than I would have to go to the same places you do to find the knowledge. The reason we get paid so much is they're the gatekeepers.
Mm.
They are the realtors are the ones who filter them into the property tax system, the mortgage system, the lawyer for closing.
Yeah.
They're the ones who filter them in, and that's why a realtor gets paid so much.
Wow. You're causing so many more thought processes as you're explaining your story, telling your story. So some feedback or some thoughts. There was a realtor that I was walking around with because my cousin was out of state, and I was trying to show on Zoom or on my phone, here's the house. And I was doing the tours for him. Right. And the realtor was quite the truther, and she was kind of cool and talking about some different things, especially this legal stuff. And we got into it, and she's like, yeah, I have a child that's just not even, no birth certificate, no nothing, just totally clean, no vaccines, just my kid that I just had. Right. What's so funny is I asked her, I was like, oh, what? You probably heard about flat earth. And she's like, oh, I kind of heard about it. She kind of still thought that was silly because she hadn't heard about it. And I gave her some, some quick some quick stats and stuff to get her started on it. But it's just interesting because you mentioned the bond paper, and I know that we have accounts associated to our being, to being born. There's an account, and I know of somebody that actually bought a truck or like accessed their account and used it, and pretty much got in trouble. Or when they find that out, it's like you don't want to mess with that kind of stuff. And then
they do that to one or two people to make an example so that the masses don't find out. Because I saw a meme of the unwashed masses with the Monopoly board on our backs and the bankers playing on the Monopoly board. And when we all find out that they're playing on our backs, all we've got to do is stand up. But standing is a big thing.
Just saying no, basically, as a collective, just saying I don't consent to this anymore. That's all it takes. But
having
the other
standing in the law is very important.
Absolutely. And my thought was, I've run across Alphonse on Telegram. He has an amazing legal channel.
Alphonse Fagiola.
Yes.
Yeah, he was part of my awakening too.
Cal Washington and Tom Barnett. These people, when you hear them speak, they're bringing truth and power. And a lot of the times your mind just explodes about who we really are, like how powerful we really are. But if you think about the masses as a whole, all they know is what they've been programmed to know. Right. They're just programmed to believe, I've got a family and I can make some money, so I'm going to chase some money or a house or a car and my little, you know what I mean? But like really, even our spoken word, like right now, just this little back and forth between you and I is doing things in reality and in the ether that we can't even understand. So a lot of this isn't just about hiding the shape of the earth or hiding God.
Oh, no.
It's about hiding who we are and like limiting our life experience. And I'm not saying like we should have this happy life, but if the deceptions were gone and the lies were gone and we were actually able to love each other with our differences, could you imagine what the world would be like?
No, we'd be one. Another part of my awakening was, let me show you two things.
Yeah, do it.
Kind of along the lines of the game that they're playing. So in the legal profession, we are considered monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And as a monster, we don't have any inheritable rights. So we have no right to own land. We have no right to be free. We have no right because we're monsters. So do you remember this movie?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See the M with the all-seeing eye?
Yep.
And the site that most monsters go to find a job. Do you know what the biggest job employment site is?
Google?
Monster.
Oh, Monster. Oh, right. Job employment site.
Talk about truth in plain sight.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one. We have no income. We are paid with Federal Reserve notes, which are debt.
Mm-hmm.
So we have no income. Income taxes are illegal.
Yeah, I knew they were unconstitutional.
Yes. So here's this. Can you see this logo?
Yeah, I need to flip it though somehow because it's reversed.
Okay.
But
it's backwards.
That's okay. I could see. Yeah, it's backwards.
There's a way I can
mirror maybe.
There's a way I could flip it. I flipped it so it's correct for me, but it's backwards for you. But it's not going to matter because you don't have
it's not going to matter. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what do you see in this?
It looks to me like Horus and the scales, and then that does like the Antarctic ring around the UN. I don't know. That's just what comes to mind.
That's pretty good. It says that our heart will be weighed against a feather, and if it's weighed down with debt, in Horus and Isis, if our heart is weighed down with debt or low frequency or sadness. Have you ever heard? They have a heavy heart.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Okay, then you're going to be weighed against the feather. Most people see an eagle this is the mouth holding the scales of justice with the feather, but this is the Grim Reaper.
Wow.
With a hand. and see his curved hand
Mm-hmm.
is on the scales.
Mm-hmm.
That's the IRS logo.
There's so much symbolism and just
It's
in plain
all
sight
symbolism.
stuff, and it's like, haha, look at this. And so truthers, and let me ask your opinion on this or your thoughts on this. Truth seekers are starting to see it and put, like Witset's great at pattern recognition. So many folks are. They're just like, wait a minute, let's look at that again. What does that mean? And then root words and actual meanings of all this stuff, where I guess I don't want to call them the sheeple, but just the mainstream crowd, they say, "Oh no, you're a fool. You're a conspiracy
Yep.
theorist. You're the enemy." And all we're doing is pointing out something that's not good. So there are few. I would say there's very few truth seekers that are doing this, and I guess it's easy to just be uncomfortable. Like the masses are just uncomfortable by us and just want to squish us, just want to call us dumb.
It,
But Dave talks about a big shift, and so does Witsit, about like within the next, 12 months, 18 months, a major
yeah.
shift in
And
more and more people just saying, wait a minute, what's actually
yeah,
going on, especially with the COVID thing and the
yeah,
sudden death thing. And I mean, I'm really hopeful that more people will join critical thinking,
yes.
analytical minded, hopeful, truth seeking. You know what I mean? Do you have anything to respond to that?
I agree. I think there's a big shift going to happen because I can see it on Dave's app
Mm-hmm.
when I watch the Friend Finder and I watch it increase. It took us, it took
Mm-hmm.
him how long to get to 100,000, and then it was like years, and then within like 10 months it was 200,000, and now it's at 206,000. It's like it grows exponentially. But getting back to what you said about pattern recognition, it's called spelling for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And in spelling, um, we wake in the morning. Well, at awake, you mourn.
Mm-hmm.
Just because there's a U in morning instead of a MORNING, it's the same thing. And you go to work to earn a living. Well, an
Mm-hmm.
urn is where they put ashes of dead people.
Right.
And the English language it's all contrived and it's all
Yeah.
made up.
There's all this
And
stuff with the monetary system, like the bank and
oh yeah,
currency, and just like
well, the
when you
banks.
break down the banking with the spellcraft of the English language, that's super convoluted.
There's a YouTube playlist by Gemstone University.
Mm-hmm.
I can send you the link for it
Yeah.
through Telegram. That if you want to link it to this video, it's 21 audio. There's no video to it; it's audio. But that's where I learned about the IRS thing. It's like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
it's. I mean, I know, I know. I knew that the IRS taxes are unconstitutional, illegal. I understood all that, but when he showed the logo, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's right. He's right on. And when you get your W-4 or W-2, I guess it is at the end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
what's in the box where your income is? What's it called?
Remind me.
Wages.
Wages.
Yes, we wager in the casino of life. Yeah.
Man, I was hearing I learned the other day that with the W-2 or the income tax return thing, if you never signed the first one, you never entered into the agreement or the system. Like you never even have to do that because
Right.
it's illegal as well. But we
Right.
just are programmed to believe
It's a
that's what you got to do.
right. It's a contract.
The contract, right?
When you signed your 1040 the first time, you
Mm-hmm.
created a contract.
Right.
And the reason people get in trouble for not paying income taxes is because they just stop paying income taxes. They don't end the contract.
Oh wow.
You have to end the contract. And the 1040 instructions, I think it's page 106 or 107, it tells you that you need to file a return or a statement.
Mm-hmm.
Never tells you what the statement is. And it's an or. It's not both. You can do one or the other. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to file a 1040. And, you know, if my statement is, I had no income, that's the statement.
Yeah.
And in their definition, I have no income. None of us have ever had any income. Never.
That just makes people's mind explode. The statement, but
Because we're paid with
true.
Federal Reserve notes. So they are a debt instrument from a private bank,
Mm-hmm.
borrowed from a private bank. They are a debt instrument. It's called legal tender.
Mm-hmm.
You have never paid off any debt in your life. Never. None of us have. Because we're paying, all legal tender does is it tenders it to a later date, a later time. And that time is probate after you're dead.
Wow.
And that's when they take that birth certificate and set off all your debts to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they keep the rest.
That's unbelievable. So I got a couple ways I'd want to take this, a couple questions. One has to do with, I think we entered into a new age a couple years ago. Like when I started my truth journey, at the very, very beginning, I'd say 2 years ago, it seemed like a veil was lifted and truth is just getting risen to the top. And, a lot of people can ignore it, but I think more and more people that wouldn't necessarily be conspiracy analysts are like, okay, it's time to analyze. You know what I mean? It's time to look at this. And they're not scared, and they are being bold. More and more people are being bold. I forgot my second thing, so maybe just run with that. I mean, do you see too that the liars, deceivers, the people that have been hiding in the shadows with this perfectly working plan,
Yeah.
they're not getting away with it anymore? Like, it's a
Right.
different game. We're at the very beginning of a different game, would be my
Right.
opinion.
I agree. And, when that all started, well, that's what Revelation is, right? Lifting of
Mm-hmm.
the veil or thinning of the veil.
Mm-hmm.
You're still going to have people who refuse to see. Um, I see Agent Smith pop up many times, and sometimes it's in my son.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be saying something, and oh yeah, right, mom. That's what I get from actually both of my boys. They The one told me that I kept my mind so far open, my brain fell out.
Mm-hmm.
So when I told him that a mind is like a parachute, it only works when it's open.
Yeah.
Is that question for me? What are you doing
No,
in your
just
free time?
Stephanie just said, what are you doing in your free
Recreation.
time? Recreation or recreation? I'm just
Recreation.
popped it up. I remembered what I was going to say. It was another, like when I said I had two thoughts, they're not
Right.
even on the same page. It's, how do you think you survived being as inquisitive as you
Mhm.
are? Because you don't, I mean, I see that you don't care what people think, but to be a flat earther, to be looking into all these topics that you've been sharing so far, it's most of the time people hate you for it, or family
Right.
members will turn away from you or not be your friend anymore. So I guess it's a question about resiliency. Well, I mean, I'm answering it myself and I know the answer, but I'll let you say it. Truth matters. But how's the battle been? 'Cause see, I didn't know you. So how much battling of staying on the path of truth? I mean, did you want to get off the path of truth seeking because it was so hard? So anything you want to say to that?
Never wanted to get off the truth, off the path of truth seeking.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it started back when I was 18. I was raised Methodist, and remember having a conversation with my pastor saying, "There's got to be more to the Creator than this. There's got to be more than just sitting in church every Sunday for 45 minutes or an hour." And then I went from that to finding a church where they were at least reading the Bible and speaking what I thought was truth. And then I learned a little bit more. And then when I sat in front of that pastor, I nudged my husband. I'm like, he's lying. What he just said is a lie.
Hmm.
So I left that church and went to another one. And the Creator wants a relation with us. The Creator knows us, and the Creator wants us to know him, her. You really want to find out where people are. When someone says, God bless you, say, she always does, and
Mm.
see how the creator reacts, or how
Or the person, yeah,
yeah. So,
they might
because,
get triggered.
oh, yeah, all the time. So I've always been the type of person who would rather apologize for something than ask permission.
Mm-hmm.
And we've become a society of, we need to get permission. And that's not what a creative being is.
Right.
We are not to be asking permission. Um, Creator, us, government. Who do you ask
Mm.
permission from?
Right. It's inverted.
Right.
It's all twisted.
Yeah.
You know, in this truth seeking journey, it's not just about knowledge. Like it's not, for me, it's not just, is the dinosaur narrative real, or billions of years, or trillions of light years, or heliocentrism versus, it's not just about knowing. Man, I just went blank. I had this really
It'll
good
come back.
thought going. Well, you were okay. You were just saying, okay, recap what you were saying, and I'll see if it can spur my memory.
I said, God,
Mm-hmm.
man, government.
Mm-hmm.
And what you create, you control.
I think I remember you got.
I'll go farther. State government created federal government. The states created the federal government. Mm-hmm. So the states are to control the federal government. So when the federal government steps out of line, like with mandates and everything, it was up to the governors in our states to say no. And if our governors weren't going to do it, it was up to our county commissioners to say no to the governor, or our sheriffs and county commissioners together to say no to the governor. So that's how, at a very local level, we can make a difference. Not that I believe in the voting system,
right?
But that's just another. Here's a couple, back to the wordplay. Mm-hmm. Why do we vote on election day? Why don't we elect?
Casting your vote.
What are the places that you go to? What's that called? Where you go to cast your vote? What's that called?
Ballot box.
Well, that's where you put your ballot.
Okay.
It's called a polling place.
Polling station, or poll.
They were just taking a poll. That's all they were doing, is taking a poll.
Oh wow.
When people say selection, it was truly selection.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no, I remembered what I was going to say. I don't know why I forgot. So it kind of has to do with you. This is so funny. It's hard to get it into words. You had said she about the creator. Well, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, I would have had a crazy reaction inside. I would have been one of those people that's like, oh no, Sally just went off the rails. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I have also told people, because I go in Ether Cosmo, go into Earth Awakenings on Discord a lot, or Clubhouse, or wherever you have like groups of 20 or 30 people talking, you're going to have all kinds of people. And in the truth-seeking journey and asking the question of what is actually the truth, it's helped me to be less judgmental, because I didn't react when you said that, because either you're right or you're not. You know what I mean? And if you're right, then what right do I have to be judgmental of you, or angry, or frustrated, or even reactionary, or triggered by what you said? Now, if you're wrong, isn't the creator big enough to, coach you, correct you, guide you lovingly towards what the truth is, because you're a truth seeker? Right. So it's almost like immature, or I would be haughty to jump in and judge you and be like quick to anger or quick to judge you. That's me being weak. So I hope that made sense. What I have told people is I have chosen to stay on the path that I'm on, because I do believe that Yeshua is the Savior. I think that Yeshua brings us reconciliation to the Father, and I don't believe that the Father and Jesus are the same. I think they're uniquely different. And I think if some people say like, well, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are, 3 in 1, or they're the same being or entity or life force or whatever, and they wear three different hats. I mean, I believe that for a really long time, and I know that the Trinitarian debate / argument really triggers people. So I'll preface by saying I'm seeking the truth. I think we all are. But for me currently to believe that the Father in authority is the highest and the Son is subservient or below him, and that there's he reconciles us to the Father, and he prayed and did his Father will, et cetera, et cetera. That's my belief. I'm following that. Now, could I be wrong? And this is where I'm really trying to get to. Yes, I can be wrong. And I say this in front of rooms of people. I say, if I die and there is no God of the Bible, there's not one. Jesus, nope, he's not there. It's something different. The whole arrangement of who created this place. I'm not going to be let down, because by personally believing that there's a creator above us and he has a son, and that whole story, that whole narrative, that's my personal faith. It's brought me all the fruits of the Spirit. So peace, patience, kindness, goodness, and self-control have come and maintained, sustained. I've got a wonderful marriage and 3 beautiful children that I'm raising them in the way they should go. So if you look around in my personal life, there's more self-control, there's less drama, less demons and darkness and confusion. So even if the path I'm on isn't the actual full truth of the matter, when I get to said creator or unknown creator, I don't think he's going to smash me with a hammer, or like you said, for not understanding fully. Now, I know some people in the chat might be like, "Whoa, JT, you're really losing it." I want to go back to saying my personal faith and walk is following the God of the Bible and his son Yeshua with all my heart. And I'm probably going to do that with every single breath of my whole life until I'm dead. You know what I mean? Yep. But to have that kind of ability to say, but if I'm wrong about it, that, I guess me being able to say I could be wrong, or God could be something different than what I currently believe, I think that shows that I'm flexible in being able to hear other people. Because if I just think I'm right about the God of the Bible and Jesus, and that is the truth, and somebody comes to me that says, I think I was seated here by aliens, or I don't believe in that religion, I'm Muslim or Buddhism, or Buddhist, then immediately, it immediately separates. So I guess that whole long story was, by getting into what is this realm, I have also asked questions about what is my faith and why do I have the faith I have. And more often than not, I'm just wanting to love other people, even when we have differences. So when you said she a second ago, I didn't trigger near as hard. And it's great to stay connected. I guess that's what I was trying to say, is it's a great journey. So that was all over the place. What do you got?
I was going to say, what if you find out the creator is bigger than the God of the Bible?
Yeah, that would be amazing. I wouldn't be sad about it. I think I'd be surprised, or I don't know, because see, when I figure out who the creator is, I'm no longer in this body, and that's going to be a big paradigm shift. When I enter into my new body, as the Christian folks say, or it's definitely going to be a mixture. It's like, because right now I believe that my body is made of dirt, and I'm dirt and spirit. Kind of, that's my container. I think later it's going to be more of a spiritual, and soul. It's going to be like water and spirit. I don't know why that's in my mind, but it's interesting to think about, Sally. What would I think or feel if the creator was something different than the God of the Bible? That's a really fascinating thought.
I didn't say different. I said bigger than.
Oh, bigger.
Because that's kind of where I was when I was 18 talking to my pastor. It's like, look, there's got to be more to this creator than this, And I've, when I was in my 30s, I found Neil Donald Walsh's Conversations with God. Have you ever heard of them?
I've heard of the book. I haven't read it yet.
There's 3 books. Definitely start with book 1 because they build one on the other. And Neil Donald Walsh was having a bad time in his life, and he got out his yellow pad and he's just frantically writing, and he's angry and he's writing everything down, and he heard, do you want answers or are you just venting? So he wrote that down, and he said, well, I want both. I want answers and I'm venting. And it became this dialogue with God, and they helped me get out of the Methodist paradigm and see bigger. So book 1 is kind of about Neil Donald Walsh's personal it, definitely start with book 1. Book 2
Hmm.
is about more overarching things, and book 3 is about more universal things. And the only problem I have with looking back at book 3 now is he's a glober.
Mm,
But the creator speaks to you in the paradigm you understand.
right.
Like I saw a picture one time, I saw a vision of angels surrounding the earth. And in my paradigm, it was a globe at the time. So it was a globe in my vision.
Hmm.
And there were 11 of them, and their wings were touching. And that kind of showed me that the earth is protected.
Oh,
Not only, I don't think it was the dome. It was more about the feeling I got was more that um, we're a chosen spot. We are protected. And that goes along with the flat earth awakening that we are the created space. And
hmm
I have a friend who's not a glober. She is a glober. I'm sorry. She's not a flat, not flat. And she's very nihilistic and
mm,
just, she was over for dinner the other night, and she said that we're a parasite on
mm,
the earth. And I'm like, no, we're not a parasite. This realm was created for us.
right.
This was made for us. Have we ruined it? Yes. Have we polluted? Yes. Are there chemtrails spraying our skies every day? Yes. But this was created for us. If evil has hurt it in some way, then as we saw in 2020 when there were no planes flying and everybody was shut down, all of a sudden the atmosphere cleared up, right?
Hmm.
So I believe the earth is a living system, like Dave Weiss says, and it can clean up anything that we've done to it, but we have to stop doing it to it. So
Yeah, that's amazing. It's sad that your friend, I mean, it's sad that so many people are programmed to believe that
I know.
about us, that we're,
And my daughter-in-law, at one point, we went to watch the eclipse,
hmm
and she said, and just think, we're just this little speck on this little planet flying through this infinite universe. I was like,
hmm
no, you're not.
Yeah, that was hard for me to break away from, like, could be because my own faith I was explaining a second ago was an ever expanding vast universe, and that verse, "The heavens declare the glory of God," in my mind, it was so interwoven that he's grand and big. But also, if you think about that concept as a Christian, it pushes God where? Like, where is God if the
Way
universe
out
is
there.
way, because he'd have to be outside of creation. And, I
Because,
know he's,
why would God care about your day?
mm-hmm,
Right? Isn't that what we're taught?
mm-hmm,
We're taught
yep,
in church. Who do you think you are that, oh, but he knows every hair on your head? That's a contradiction. If he doesn't care about me, why would he know every hair on my head and knew me before I
exactly.
was formed in the womb? Well,
Mm-hmm,
because we're part of God. See, and
yeah,
that was Neil Donald Walsh. Also, he wrote a kid's book um, that I'm drawing a blank on right now, but it says about how, see, I don't believe in heaven and hell. I
mm-hmm,
believe that when we are separated from this body, we are returned to source. We are back with the creator. And you just said a few minutes ago that why would the creator, whether it's male or female, which it's neither, it's spirit, why would the creator, smash you over the head?
mm-hmm,
Would you ever do that to your child?
no,
No. Especially they're learning to walk. We're learning about this realm. We're just learning. You would never say to your toddler, "How stupid are you?" That bash. No, that's not what we do.
right,
We
right,
help them up, and and we'll let them play. God lets us play. God, Creator, lets us
mm-hmm,
play here,
yeah,
and we can enjoy this place. We're meant to. It was created for us. And okay, you slip up and you do something that the creator's not going to say, "How dare you? How stupid are you?" No,
mm-hmm,
you were just playing. You know.
yep, yeah,
So
definitely. A couple thoughts. you probably have already heard Crow 777 and other folks doing the nuke hoax, like the nuclear weapon hoax.
Yeah.
The crazy thing about that is man cannot end this place. Like man
Right.
does not have the power as much as they want to end this place. And they want
Right.
us to believe that we're on a planet that if enough nukes went off at once, the cloud would cover and, could be blown apart. We'd be ended immediately. And the same thing with like the meteor, like a meteor took out the dinosaurs, like all this fear mongering stuff.
False evidence appearing real.
Exactly. And then the whole thing with like this realm, the earth is vast. It is huge, extended topographical plane. I think that even if I could be like Superman, fly up to the tip top of the dome, or maybe the layer of ether or whatever superfluid is above us to where I really can't go higher and try to see it. Well, a part of it's going to be in darkness because the sun takes its light and warmth with it. There's no camera, or there's no wide enough of angle, not even my own peripheral could see the whole realm. And that's what I want people to understand is like, if my hands are representing the entire earth and the sun does move, or the apparent sun does move over top of it, as it has done for thousands of years in a cyclical pattern running its circuit, the sun and the moon are smaller than the whole creation, the whole ground level of the earth. And I try to tell people that, here in Texas, my head is straight up and down, and people in Australia, their head is straight up and down. We're balanced. We have, fluid in our inner ear. And if you think about a pool or a pond, any body of water anywhere is laying at the same exact angle level. And if you don't want to believe that or don't want to look into that, that's fine, but I think that's what it is. So that those couple things popped in my mind.
I agree with you. And I also, a couple of people that I've been, I send videos about the flat earth to, and then you ask them a question. For example, if it's the solar system and you have the sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, third rock from the sun, right? How do you ever see Venus in a night sky?
Right.
Venus is always between us and the sun. It would have to be. How do you see Venus in a night sky? It's out. It'll be out tonight. It's out.
Yep.
How? Second question I asked them. If the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, which it would have to be 24,091 miles around, how do you land on a north-south runway with the runway going right at 1,000 miles per hour? How? Yep. Oh, well, that's not the way it works. No, if you believe in the heliocentric thing, that's what you have to believe. And when I first started, like I said, I listened to Mark Sargent, I listened to the guy with the Appalachian Trail, and I saw somebody commented about how some mountain was 6,682 feet. Okay, I was wrong. I don't know. I've never researched how high the mountains are in the Appalachian Trail, but not high, not like out west or the Alps, not high. I just drew a blank on what I was going to say.
It happens to me and makes me feel so silly. I had said the nuke hoax and I did the picture, and you were doing you were giving me a rundown of things you asked people. It may come back to you. If it comes back to you, interrupt, because it will as soon as I start talking. Go ahead. I was going to bring up Austin Whitsitt's Schooling Globers episode that he did on airplanes. That one was fantastic because he even talks about air. Oh, you haven't? It's great. Yeah. Just Whitsitt's channel, and then probably playlists, and then Schooling Globers, and you scroll till you see, I think it's called Airplanes, possibly. But he was even talking about aircraft carriers in the ocean have to be going it has to be going a particular way for the airplane to come in, because basically the landing gear would snap off if it was at a bad angle. And just the whole thing is just kind of wild.
And how, if you're spinning to the west at 1,000 miles per hour, how is the predominant travel of clouds to the east?
Yep.
So those clouds are going 1,050 miles per hour to stay
Mhm.
with the earth? No, they're just kind of floating around. And how do clouds stay up there? Not only how are they flat on the bottom, but how do they stay up there? Um, I still haven't remembered what I was going to say. I will think of it probably as
The
soon as we
the
disconnect.
oh,
Um,
well, I mean, if it comes back, you can say the flat on the bottom clouds, that part really, really helped me. When I was told that, basically the first thing I was told is that outer space, as we were taught, isn't a place you can go. It's just not. It's a narrative. It's a story that is amazing. Everybody thinks it's real, but it's not a place you can go. That kind of made me almost like look around, like, wait a minute, what is nature? Like, what is going on? And I started looking at the moon and the sun and the stars again, because like I had been just doing the stay-at-home dad life, raising babies, loving my wife well. I had this whole routine and this fast-paced life where nature just took a way back seat. I mean, not on purpose. It's not like I didn't like the outdoors, because I'm an outdoors
well,
person.
not on your
But
purpose, but it's
yeah,
designed that way. It's
right.
designed that way. That's why we turn our
Mm-hmm.
clocks twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's why our clock hands go around twice a day instead of once. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. But it's by
Oh
design,
no,
not your design.
it's good. But whenever I started on this journey and everything came more alive to me, I enjoyed the process of reconnecting to creation, not to worship it, but to recognize it for what it is. Because I mean, I know the word does say that even if people don't even ever read a Bible or anything like that, they'll know there's a creator by what he created, and that's
Right,
powerful.
right. I was a whitewater river guide in Pennsylvania
You've
on the
done so
Lehigh
much.
for
Yeah.
9 years. That was
Wow.
fun. It was a place I could take my kids with me. Um, the first year I was what's called a sweep guide, and I was in the last raft. And so I had my kids with me in the raft, and we, go down the river and pick up people and things, and as we're going. And um, then I had someone at the church that I was attending at the time condemn me and malign me for not being there every Sunday from April until the end of October.
Yeah.
Training was the beginning of April, and we guided to the end of October. And I'm with my kids. I'm in nature. I'm enjoying. I mean, I was on the river and a tree fell over. I'm like, I looked at another guy and I'm like, did you just see that? He's like, yeah. It's like, I mean, have you ever, except for the storms in South Carolina where trees were all over the place, have you ever just been there in a quiet space and a tree goes and falls over? I mean, and we were there to see it.
That's amazing.
If a tree falls in the woods and
Hmm.
nobody's there, it doesn't make a noise, that old question. But it, to be condemned, this is what I was going to say earlier when you were talking about being triggered by,
Hmm.
if I said she,
Hmm.
um, the most, in my experience, the most critical, condemning people go to churches every Sunday morning.
Mm.
I have a friend who, when I first met her, had just seen The Staircase of Disbelief at
It's a good
17.
one.
Okay,
Super good
that's a
one.
really good one. So, I'm standing there talking to her, and I'm like, step one, JFK, Lee Harvey Oswald did not kill JFK. I'm with you. I'm with you. We get all the way up to the top, and at the top, there is a creator, and your creator loves you. Well, when I started asking questions like, there's 66 books in the Bible. That's kind of suspect for me.
Hmm.
Someone controlled the Bible. Um, religion, in my opinion, religion was given to us as a way to separate us from the creator and our creative abilities, and separate us from each other through I don't know how many different denominations there are. Somebody could probably tell me in the chat how many different denominations there are in Christianity. What, 1,200?
No, like
That's
30,
division.
30,000 or something.
30,000. Okay,
Yeah.
that's division, And it's always, if you don't believe what I believe, you're wrong.
Oh no,
So
I'm sorry. For over 45,000.
over 45,000. Yeah, that's division. And
Yeah.
the creator wants a relation with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. What that is, like Dave Weiss says all the time, that's between me and my creator. That's my journey.
Yep.
But my friend, when I started asking these questions, got so upset with me. Now, this friend who's on the truth journey and at the top of the staircase of disbelief,
Mm-hmm.
she deleted our conversation on Telegram.
Mm.
She hasn't talked to me for months because I was asking a question. And that's division. That if you believe I'm going to hell because I don't believe the way you believe, then wouldn't you try to convince me the way you believe instead of cutting me out of your life?
Yeah.
If you believe that we have an eternal soul, which I do,
Mm-hmm.
and you believe that my eternal soul is condemned to hell because I don't believe the way you believe, isn't the loving thing to do to spend time with me and try to show me? And
Yep.
instead, she just like cut me out of her life. Gone. Like she sent me a big long Telegram post, and 2 months later she deleted everything, and she condemned me for she's never been happy in her life. Great. I'm not saying you have to believe what I believe. I'm just saying I'm questioning these things.
Yeah.
Couldn't there be? And maybe there is. And you know, what was the purpose for religion?
Right.
And then
And
I
you
heard
know,
this.
she did that because of her discomfort.
I
Not,
know.
you know what I mean? And even my dad right now, I mean, we don't really talk about flat earth at all. He was on, I tried a few times to talk about this journey I was entering into and I was looking into this. And I guess at first he was like, why are you looking into this? What are you trying to figure out? And then as I stayed firm that we don't live on a globe, him being, 77 years old and the moon missions being such a big part of his life, and just he had such pride in America, and just as a boy, joy that we did that, or that accomplishment was had. I don't think he knew how to separate like his whole memory bank and his youth and his passion for space from, like he doesn't know how to delineate or to separate. So it's just too uncomfortable for him. And I've chosen, even though I feel I have the truth about this realm, some of it, a lot more than the heliocentric theory, I've chosen just to not care that he's decided to move forward, um, believing in space and believing
Right.
in all the
Well,
nonsense. Because
you planted the seed.
yeah, that's all I can do. Now, I hope your friend comes back around, because you
Yeah.
said she's on the staircase of disbelief, and um, it's
I
so
thought there
hard,
was.
especially when you get religion into the mix, because sometimes people's foundation, they feel like this or that is so foundational that they can look into what is this realm, or the medical industry, or law, money, what is fiat currency. All these things are like, oh yeah, it can be whatever. But then when you say like the Trinity or not, or God of the Bible or not, or your personal faith or not, shifting those ideas, sometimes people feel like, I think deep down they feel like if they get it wrong, they're going to get smashed by a hammer from the creator,
Right.
when I don't
I
think
think
that's the
you're right.
case. I don't think that's the case. That's a programming thing
Yeah.
too. So I don't know, I'm just praying for your friend, to take a deep
Yeah.
breath and
I sent her
enter it.
something
Do
that
what?
the playlist from Gemstone University. I sent that
Mm-hmm.
to her just the other day, and I said, maybe this will help you in your journey, to live in the private. So maybe she'll never watch it. Maybe she will. I don't know. But
Yeah.
she hates me. I still love her. What does that say about our foundational beliefs?
Well, the weird thing is, when you just said that, inside of me, I was like, well, that's not true. I think she still loves you. She hates the way she feels when you challenge her,
Conflicted.
when you challenge her base layer, which
Right.
I think everything should be challenged, or could be, like her base layer should be able to be challenged and her still love you. And the weird thing is, she does still love you, but she's so triggered or emotional about that concept of
Right.
challenging her base layer that she had to cut you out of her life. So I don't think she hates you right this second. Even if she types out, I hate you, I don't think she
Well,
does.
she didn't exactly say that, but
I know,
she
right?
just cut me out of her life, you
Oh,
know.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Doesn't answer. Well, she deleted Telegram, me completely off of Telegram. So,
It can be tough.
Yeah. There was something I was going to say, but
Yeah. Well, I don't have a whole lot more. I mean, I loved hearing so far what you said. I know I'll see you at another event. I mean, I'm not wrapping it up completely, but be thinking about anything else you want to add before we do wrap up.
Well, the one thing I thought about this last night. My questioning and my inquisitiveness came from my mother, and I believe a lot of things follow bloodlines. So, but my father was verbally abusive. My father was very nasty man. He did 2 days a year well. He did Hershey Park Day. We went to Hershey Park, Pennsylvania, and he did Christmas Day. Not that he bought anything for Christmas, but it was always a good day on Christmas. He didn't fight with us. He didn't argue with us. He wasn't nasty to us. So Christmas was a good day. I can remember telling a friend of mine that I went to high school with, we meet as often as possible, maybe 6 or 7 times a year, have breakfast together and chat. She's also on this journey. She's a flat earther. She got the app. I love, Dave Weiss says about how I never met a blue dot I didn't like. And he's absolutely right.
Right.
Everybody who they're open, their minds are open, they're alert, they're awake. Agent Smith does not show up ever. But I can remember telling my friend that how my dad was growing up, and she's such a good friend. She started crying. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I never knew." Like, well, how would you ever know? Because my dad wasn't like that when anybody was around. I had friends that were at the house all the time, and my dad was never nasty to me in front of my friends. It was always behind closed doors. And that's how abuse happens. That's what it broke my heart when in 2020 when we got locked down, because there were women and men locked in a building with an abusive spouse. And the only thing that saves and that can get someone out of that abuse is when they're around other people. And that's the first thing abusers do, is they eliminate.
Right.
They make it very difficult for you to remain friends. And I said, I did Pampered Chef for 15 years. And I taught people how to cook and whatnot. And I can remember my husband at the time was I married an abuser. Imagine that. Just like my dad, because it was comfortable. It was what I was used to, because I saw it with my mom. So I can remember I did a Pampered Chef show in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and he was nasty to me that day. And the hostess came over and said something to me very sweet about how wonderful I was and blah, blah, blah. And I just started crying. I was like an open wound all the time. And then she was telling me how great I was. And she's like, "Oh, honey, come here. You got to tell her. She was so good." And it was only because of Pampered Chef that I got out of the house, that I was around people who were affirming to me, that I was able to leave my abusive ex-husband after 9 years of marriage. And I felt so sorry for women and men, because abusers aren't all men. There's plenty of female abusers out there. And the insidious thing about verbal abuse is, I don't know if you've ever known anybody who's been abused, but when the abuser is not abusing you, we do it to ourselves. That self-talk, we do it to ourselves.
Right.
So even when the abuser isn't there in the room abusing, the victim is abusing themselves by the self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the insidious part of verbal abuse,
Yeah.
is it happens even when the abuser's not around.
Man.
And it takes a lot. You said something earlier about being alone on this truth journey. I was the only one that could walk away.
Wow. I have a response for sure. I want to fill in. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to run to
Okay.
the bathroom. There's a video, conspiracy music guru. It's like 3 minutes, maybe. Someday we'll wake up. Have you heard the song?
No.
Okay. I'm going to play it real quick and I'll be back and I'll respond to when you said, I don't know if you've ever been verbally abused. That's where I'll pick it up.
Well, or known someone who was abusive.
Oh yeah, sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Ready? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, you don't care what they're gonna do. You don't like worrying about things that are bigger than you. While your husband and children are sent off to war, you hang up your flag, miss, don't ask much more. You think your side is winning, but you don't know the score. There aren't peace in the east, we are the best in the west. We don't reason very well wearing bulletproof vests. It ain't money that's power, it's knowledge that's king. Better open your eyes, sir, they ain't the same thing. You don't have either, and that's why you're down. That ain't never gonna change while your head's in the ground. They don't want you going anywhere except 6 feet underground. I believe in those dog-lying wolves on the screen, whose words you believe in, whose pockets are green. While you're green with envy, you guess it's okay, long as everybody else is getting stepped on the same way. You think you have freedom, but you'll wake up someday. So they tax you and drug you and work you to death. They defeat you and cheat you until your last breath. Then they poison your body and waste all your time. Then they pull on your strings, but it's all in your mind. You think you make choices, but you're just last in line.
Oh, I caught some of that song. That was perfect to have as kind of a little intermission.
Yep.
Yeah. So what the last relationship I was in, I would say the person I was living with was narcissistic and extremely verbally abusive, but in strange ways. Like it wasn't this screaming like insanity. It was like a manipulative tactic, belittling of my soul, and knives entering to my heart / spirit in a way that as it was going on and I was trying to say things like, why'd you say it like that? Or why did you say that that way? And she's like, what do you mean? I said it like this. And it would be the flipped. It would be like, oh, that didn't sound bad. Well, a second ago, why did you say it like that? She's like, no, I didn't say it like that a second ago. And there was a time where there'd be like a breakdown and like, okay, you're right. I always run into this in my relationships and they always fall apart. I'm sorry. Da, da, da. But then the next day, when the next day came around, it was just back to that like really, really crazy stuff. Yep. Anyway, that's when I found the Creator. I mean, that's when I found Jesus. I mean, even though I was born in East Texas and had gone to church camps and the Bible and the whole thing and say the prayer, blah, 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 I felt like the Holy Spirit reached out to me and when I was at my lowest point and offered me a new path. And so, when you mentioned, have you known anybody, that was like the pivot point for me, like, because the weird thing, and then I'll let you respond. I didn't know if I was crazy and just thinking this stuff up. Like, was I the one with the issue, or was she? Like, I got so confused about who I was, who she was, where the blur happened in the insanity of narcissism or her narcissistic tendencies. That's a pretty scary place. And I think a lot of people enter into marriages and relationships where there is love, they love that person, but there's this like demon or inversion or dark side of that other person. But yeah, what do you want to respond to that?
The abuse is usually not yelling and screaming. Like the abuse is here's an example. We went to a friend's house and the friend said, "Would you like another cup of coffee?" "Sure, I'd like another cup of coffee." So he made another pot of coffee and we all had coffee, and that was before I was decaffeinated and all that good stuff. But and we're sitting around having a good time. We get in the car door closes. "Why did you ask for another cup of coffee?" "Well, what do you mean? What did I ask for another cup of coffee?" "Well, he didn't make another pot of coffee. Why did you ask for another pot of coffee?" It's like, so that kind of stuff makes you question everything, and have to justify everything.
Right.
Justify why you're doing this. Justify why you're doing that. It's like no living man or woman should ever have to justify to anyone but their creator what they're doing and why they're doing it, in my humble opinion.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should ever have to justify and see, that's the insidious, that's the crazy making thing. And yeah, if you question, it's like, well, I didn't say that. Well, yes, you did. You just said it. Oh, if I had a tape recorder, oh my gosh, I wish I had a tape recorder.
Right.
And the creator, for me, it was like a baseball bat smacked upside my head when I finally okay. Actually, I had an experience where I was doing a Pampered Chef show and I felt like I was going to die that day. So I wrote a note to my kids and I put it in my briefcase so they would know if I did die that day, so that they would know that I felt like I was going to. And I called my husband and I told him. He said, "Oh, okay." And I said, "Well, don't fight with the boys too much," because he was always, just picking on the kids all the time, on the boys. Don't use kids. That's another way they get us. Kids are baby goats. We have children. We have offspring. We have lineal heirs. We don't have kids.
Right. The terminology thing again.
Yeah. So I said, don't pick on the boys too much. And I went about my day. And obviously I didn't die, because here I am, 2024, talking to you. And that was the day. That was the day that I stopped taking the abuse. That was the day that my eyes were opened to it. And like I said, it was like a 2x4 upside my head. And that was in April of 1995. And I left him in October of 95.
Wow.
Yeah.
Takes a strong person to get out of that, some of those situations. So I'm proud of you on that deal. I also had another thought, because I had a good friend, close friend, liked to work out, and it was a female, and there wasn't romantic. It was just a real good connection. This was in between that narcissistic relationship and me, my current wife, like just kind of healing from the trauma and different things. And anyway, this one time we were riding road bikes and I was going into the bathroom, and I think I don't even know. It was like, "Hey, do you want me to fill up your water? I'm going to fill mine up." "Sure. Here's the bottle." And I had the lid, and I just ran in with it. And anyway, I kept the lid for some reason. I maybe put it in my pocket. I don't know. But we kind of got into an argument in a little bit. And the main part of the story is not the important part. What I'm getting at is, all of us have a movie reel in our mind. Like even you and I had an idea of what this interview would even go like before it happened. And usually when people get extremely sideways with each other is when they thought it was going to go a different way and then it went that way. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like she wanted the bottle and the lid because she was going to go get ice, go get water, put it on and have it, everything like that. And she thought, oh, that's nasty. Don't take the lid in the bathroom. I thought, oh, here's the bottle. I'll hang on to this part easily in my little back pocket. And you can just go, you won't have your hands full. Whatever it was, we thought different things about what would happen in that moment. And so my wife and I entered into our marriage. And I mean, it's not like profound, but we've talked before about the movie reel. Like what was the movie reel in your mind? And she's like, oh yeah, you're right. I thought that you were going to do this. And I was like, yeah. And so I think if people can realize that we don't mean to be, but we kind of are bent towards self-centeredness or thinking it's going to go our way or what we have in our mind about what's about to happen is going to produce, because a lot of the times we do create a reality or we do manifest or create the day.
A lot of times?
But a lot of times.
All the time.
Except for when you have two people with movies going. And if there's a difference, that's where I'm just trying to say right now, try to take a deep breath. If you're feeling like you're going to be triggered or emotional or angry or if you're going to feel anything drastically different than what you were just feeling because something was said or in a moment, take one deep breath before you react. And just the act of catching that emotional change will help you to see, like, maybe I don't have to get angry, or maybe I don't have to be super sad about this. Maybe they didn't even mean what they said, Anyway, relationships are interesting.
Yeah, they are. Eckhart Tolle says in The Power of Now, he says, watch the thinker.
Oh, wow.
So before you, pay attention, watch the thinker. What are you thinking? Why are you thinking that? And then if you watch the thinker, your life goes so much easier.
Yeah.
So much better.
Don't have as many.
You had said to me when we talked about the preliminary to set this up about, is there someone that that influenced my life that, you could jump on here? Well, Joe Dispenza. Have you ever watched Joe Dispenza's?
No, I'll write it down.
Joe Dispenza. He, The Power of Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself is the first book to read, and You're the Placebo is another one. Okay. And it goes into, he's had people like, they're on the app, his whole series of him from Evan Carmichael is on the app, Joe Dispenza. And he was very influential in me learning to heal myself. And we bring on so much ourselves. Like people say to me all the time, have you ever heard someone say, I caught a cold? Really? Oh, yeah. You caught it? Why didn't you just let it go by? Why'd you catch it? I believe very much in terrain theory. I don't believe in germ theory. So if I keep my terrain clean, I, don't end up with a lot of things that just going around or coming down the pike or that kind of thing. So, and I heard years ago, nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And the only thing we can control truly are our thoughts.
Yep.
You can control your breath. You can hold your breath. You can not eat for a little while, but eventually the law of necessity makes you have to breathe. It makes you have to eat. It makes you have to drink. And so the only thing that you can truly control are your thoughts. And like Eckhart Tolle, to be the watcher of the thinker. And Joe Dispenza, there was Joe Vitale wrote, I'll think of a book he wrote with Dr. Yu Len, who's a Hawaiian guru, more or less. That word is triggering to people, a guru. And meditation is another one that's triggering. But he did, Zero Limits is the book Joe Vitale wrote. And it's this guy, Dr. Hugh Len, he was a psychologist, and he healed a whole wing of people that were in prison in like the mentally deranged ward of the prison, kind of like Hannibal Lecter was.
Mm-hmm.
He healed them and never met with any of them.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a wow.
That's a
So
big wow.
when you realize, like Joe Dispenza talks about, he realized that people can heal themselves. Then if people can heal themselves, can they heal somebody else? And the answer is yes, that we can heal other people. And a lot of times, have you ever been someplace where, like, maybe I'm just different, but have you ever been someplace where all of a sudden you just get a blinding headache, just like blam,
Mm-hmm.
hits you, or something in a joint?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's usually not your. See, we're all one. We're all connected. That's not
Right.
your pain. So don't accept it as your pain. Send it back to the person who sent it to you with love and healing, and the pain goes away. I've been doing that for a number of years now, and it works. I was driving past a tractor trailer truck the one day, and all of a sudden I got this massive headache, just blinding headache. I'm like, oh my gosh, I send this pain back with love and healing. And I think that trucker had a headache.
Oh, wow. Picked it
I'll
up.
never know. But he's probably sitting there praying about it, and all of a sudden, and that's another word play, pray and pray.
Mm-hmm.
Prey or Pray.
Right.
Totally different things, all in the spelling. So
I just dropped in the chat. It's a Crow 777 radio podcast, and you get the first hour for free. I mean, I've just subscribed to him forever, and I don't even stay caught up because they put out so much stuff. But it's a 2-hour podcast, and this one covers Dr. Franco Lena, Lenna, and he's a mainstream medicine guy, or he's an MD, but he actually went like overseas or Russia. I can't remember exactly where, but he went to other areas on the plane to absorb or learn their way of doing medicine in its entirety. And he doesn't just mess with one little problem. He takes the whole body, and he talks about things like operating on an energetic level, and the type of medicine he practices is soul medicine. And I don't know, you probably know Sally, my wife's a physician, like she's a doctor of osteopathy. So she has all the training of an MD, but she did even more a DO for the muscular, lymphatic, and muscular system. And so, like, when I became a flat earther, she's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you looking into this for? Like, it was really bothering her that I was so quote unquote countercultural. Even in our marriage, she's kind of like, well, what's the reason? Like, what are you trying to get to? What's the point of you looking into this? And I broke it down to her that the truth matters, that asking the truth, seeking the truth is a worthy endeavor. And it ended up being that she was okay with it, because as I started to look at things in scripture, and the family, the kids and I looked at the moon and the stars with my P1000 that I eventually got, she's like, this is amazing. The stars do circle over top of us as they always have. And we aren't, she's like, we aren't the back porch where I'm sitting right now. If I had an interview with somebody tomorrow, I'm not 1.8 million miles in a different spot. I'm here. I'm right here. And so she got that. But as I started to learn about train theory, which I was, that's what this response is, I thought, oh, wow. Because, when flat earth comes, to me, it was flat earth first. Like 9/11 maybe was a little iffy, but then it kind of like went away as time progressed. It just kind of, I was like, yeah, that's probably what happened wasn't all that it's made out to be. And then anyway, I'm a stay-at-home dad. Before I found out about flat earth, I was worried about my kids because they were getting sick all the time. And when they got sick, I would like push away from them and wipe their nose. And I'd be like, oh no, in my brain, I'd say, oh no, I know I'm going to get sick now, and it's going to affect my training. I hate being sick. And I would get sick almost every time. Like I think I was sick 9 times with just little colds from all that. But I learned about flat earth and seeking the truth and terrain theory. And I said it out loud. I said, when my kids were sick, I said, maybe they're detoxing, and maybe I don't have to detox yet. Maybe I don't have enough toxins in me to trigger a detox. And I don't think I've been sick in 18 months. And I didn't change anything but my thoughts, my understanding of what that even is. And of course, I've watched the like the endofcovid.com and Amanda Vollmer and
Right.
Dr. Andy Kaufman and Dr. Cowan. Like I've definitely consumed, I think Sam Bailey, some amazing information on the human body and what our body can even do. Like it's just made to heal if you give it the right inputs, stimuli, earth, ground. You can look at the sun, drink pure water, pure food. But to land the plane, when I told my wife that viruses may not exist because they've never been proven to exist, that was a bigger problem than any of the other truther stuff, just because she has 25 years in the industry. And who am I? Just who am I to tell her? But now she's getting out of, and I said this at Flat-Toberfest, now she's getting out of mainstream medicine to do her own private practice so she can practice medicine her way, and actually try to, love people and heal people rather than just prescribe stuff. So yeah, that was a bunch, but thank you for triggering that in my mind.
Yeah, well, good. I remember you saying that at Flatoberfest. I go to I have an osteopath. I haven't been to an MD in decades. And I go once a year to have, I told him I need my 24,000 mile checkup, and he adjusts my back, and I'm done. But the girl who was triggered and she unfriended me, she was on me, not this past year, obviously, because she isn't talking to me now, but she was on my case about doing a liver cleanse. And she's like, you got to do a liver cleanse. You got to do a liver cleanse. You got to do a liver cleanse. I'm like, yeah. So she gave me her copy of the book, and I read it, and your liver is your main filter for your blood. Why would you not clean it?
Yeah.
And I did, in the book, the guy says to do one cleanse a month after full moon, between full moon and new moon, every month until you pass no stones, because your liver has stones, your gallbladder has stones. So I did that 7 months. I passed my biggest one at 4 months.
Whoa.
It was, do you remember the big marbles, like an eggie? You shoot marbles with.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was that big. Now, I believe that my liver had to get rid of all the little ones in front of it before it could push that big one out. And though it pushed that big one out, it had to release all the ones behind it. So now I do one cleanse every season change. So solstice, equinox, solstice, equinox. So I do 4 a year. And I pass thousands of stones, thousands.
Wow.
And
how do you find what this methodology?
I can email you the book.
Yeah, do that, because, well, I wasn't, and I'm not going to sidetrack from your story much. I fell into the whole get vaccinated camp because my wife was in the military at the time. I wasn't a truther, didn't know anything, and she just had to, because of she would get kicked out of the military if she didn't. Plus, she was scared, and so we did the Pfizer 1 and 2. But I also think that the people in the very beginning were probably given placebo or whatever, or saline, to make it to be like, all the military got what they needed, you just go ahead. Or the creator just blocked our family because we've never had COVID, we never had symptoms, we never had clotting or issues whatsoever. So I'm just going to say thank you for the blessing. Thank you for this passage through that insanity. And now I won't get a flu shot. I haven't taken any kind of pharmaceutical, anything in 2 years, and I don't need anything but clean water and stuff like that. Man, I don't know. I just went blank again.
And I've never had a flu shot.
And
I've never had the flu, because I believe, like you said, I believe it's your body detoxing. I believe your body's an amazing thing, and to think that it needs help, the creator created it to function for a long, long time.
Right.
And if we believe that it needs help, like vaccines and all this stuff, as soon as you're born out of the womb, that you need shots and all this kind of stuff. I have 4 grandchildren. 2 of them are vaccine injured.
Man.
And now looking back, my oldest son was vaccine injured at 4. He developed idiopathic pediatric thrombocytopenia.
Whoa.
His white blood cells just started eating his platelets. Why would it do that? Well, because something got injected into his body that flipped it all around. He almost died when he was 4. And my other son, now I don't have their health records, and so I can't like pinpoint and say within 2 weeks, within 3 days. I can't do that. But they call it idiopathic. Well, that means there's no cause for it. Well, if there's no cause for it, it won't happen. There had to be a cause for it. And my other son, when he was 8 or 9, he was playing soccer the one day, and the next day could barely walk. And they thought that he had rheumatoid arthritis. And they did all these tests. They pulled like 15 vials of blood. He didn't have rheumatoid arthritis. He had a strep infection in his entire body.
Oh, wow.
Not localized to the sore throat, a strep infection to the entire body. Again, probably caused by something that was injected into him, because I didn't know any better. I was just, I followed the schedule. I thought, oh, it's time for your whatever vaccine. You need to go get this booster. You need to go do this. You need to go do that. And to my children, if they would ever see this video, I say, I'm sorry, because I didn't know any better. But having said all that, I now know better. And I just wish my offspring would stop injecting their offspring.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's so challenging to get through to them. And I'm not, my daughter-in-law thought that I was insulting her because I said that I felt that he was vaccine injured, and I wasn't trying to insult her. She did what she felt was best at the time, just like I did. However, there's new information out there, and I've read and watched and read and watched and read and watched. I know. So we don't need them. So that daughter-in-law is finally, she finally found 3 herbs. She believes he's toxic. She found 3 herbs, and she gives him these herbs in his juice at night or his milk at night, so that he's getting better. He's
That's really good to hear.
Nonverbal. 2 years old, nonverbal.
You bringing up supplementation made me remember where I went blank that last time. It's I was telling you I made the mistake of following the mainstream path. Like, that was a mistake. But since then, introducing like Shilajit, activated charcoal going in, some bentonite clay going through, and following like a protocol that David Avocado Wolf put forward about parasites, because I realized that quite a bit of sickness or ailments that people deal with are mold infestation or parasitic infestations in the body. And you can get through that. That's why my ears kind of perked up when you talked about like you passing so many stones, because I'm like, oh man, let me do a liver cleanse. It really enticed me. But then I also asked David. I want to. Asked David. Also, I said, hey, do you think, because I'm an athlete and I'm always running, doing cardio, that helps? He said absolutely, because my body is very oxygen rich quite often. I'm breathing. I get into a rhythm. A mind state, a flow state, if you will. And if there is things that are in me, even from the food, because the tons of stuff gets put in our body from the food, that active lifestyle has helped too. But
I'm sure it has. I just hate running.
I mean, power walk. Go on long walks, listen to podcasts and stuff like that. That also
being oxygenated really helps. David Avocado Wolf. Well, actually, the last, I think it was Equinox Summit that Jaron had, 3 of the presenters talked about deuterium depleted water. So, and David Avocado Wolf said, you distill your water, stop it before it's finished, dump that whatever's left in the distiller away, distill that again, and do it 3 or 4 times, and now you have deuterium depleted water. So I bought a distiller, and it actually just shut off as we were talking. I wanted to stop it before I got to the end because I needed to throw that little bit away. But yeah, I started distilling my water. Our water here is in upstate New York is atrocious. So I distill it. That's all I drink is distilled water. And yeah, I might be missing some minerals, but I'm also missing the fluoride and the chlorine and all the other
I'm telling you what.
sludge that's, if I would show you that what my distiller looks like, it's just,
No, I'm on it. I have a Water Wise, I think is what it's called. It's a gallon, and
yeah,
I fill it up to the line. I do a gallon or two every day. I have one in there that finished up a minute ago. And I mean, I let it run all the way to the end because nothing gets through. I tested with the TDS meter. You can let
right.
that thing go to auto shut off.
But you're
And then
testing for minerals and whatnot. You're not testing for deuterium. Deuterium's an isotope of hydrogen,
uh-huh.
and
But I've enjoyed
that's what.
using the distiller. You're supposed to shut them off before auto shut off?
You're not supposed to if all you want is distilled water.
Okay.
If you want
Yeah.
to create deuterium distilled water, deuterium depleted water, you need to shut it off when there's a little bit left in it. Dump that away, put that right back in, let it go again, shut it off when it is a little bit. So you're losing a little bit each time, but after 3 or 4 times, according to David Avocado Wolf, you have deuterium depleted water.
Oh, wow. See, I knew Witsit double distilled or ran it twice. That's probably what he was trying to obtain
Probably.
or whatever. So that's pretty interesting. Man, guess what? You just by about a minute have beaten my longest stream because when I interviewed Sam, I was like, "Hey, man, you went longer than Gilly Pong," and now here we are going, hour 45. I'm gonna have to eventually just take the day off.
We gotta shut it off eventually, but yeah.
I know. It's good visiting and hearing stories and sharing. I mean, I'm sure we could go back and forth the rest of the day. My wife's home. She's past halfway on her pregnancy with our little girl, and I think she just ran a half marathon. I have to check with her. She does a half marathon in each trimester. So far, She's done that with all 3 of our kids. She likes to move. And anyway, do you have any final closing remarks about today or?
No.
Any thoughts? Or are you good?
I played volleyball with my oldest son. I played volleyball up until my 8th month.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome.
No, I will send you the links to the Gemstone University. That's a YouTube link, and I will send you. I'll email you the book.
Yeah, the liver cleanse book.
The liver cleanse book. Yeah, I had when I was 39, I had a frozen shoulder on my left shoulder, and when I was 49, it froze on my right shoulder. Nobody could tell me why. They could only tell me statistics, and what it's called adhesive capsulitis. Around every joint, there's a capsule of fluid, and what happens with frozen shoulder, the synovial fluid has gone away. So it's a large capsule because your arm has to be able to move all the way. So the capsule adheres to itself, so it grows scar tissue in there.
Wow.
And guess what causes that?
What?
Clogged liver.
Oh wow, you're pushing the liver. I mean, I'm all about it. I'll let you know. I'll give you feedback on it.
Yeah.
I just thought I'll close out in prayer. But I appreciate your time, your energy. You showing up and having fun with me, chatting about all these different things today.
I appreciate you asking me. This was wonderful. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Well, Heavenly Father, thank you for letting Sally and I visit, share stories, share our experiences of seeking the truth, and ultimately, whatever we've said today, we want to continue forward to find the actual truth in all these subjects, not so we can be haughty or prideful or know-it-alls, but so that we can be most set free from the enemy and the schemes, the darkness, the deception. So guide us all, and everybody that stopped by in the chat, people that are going to watch this later. I just ask for protection and guidance over their lives as well. And we can't do it without you. So thank you for, allowing us to be here at the same time as each other. Help us to love each other and not be divided. And I pray this in Yeshua's holy name. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you too. And I'll catch you next time.
Very good. Bye.
All right. Bye. Peace.